The only thing more recognizable than Ace Frehley's signature spaceman makeup is his guitar playing. Those thundering riffs and singable solos have enshrined him as one of the most influential, inspiring, and impactful musicians of all time. Simply put, rock and roll and heavy metal wouldn't sound, look, or feel the same without him. Among hundreds of accolades, the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame inducted him in 2014 as a co-founder and the original lead guitarist of Kiss. Guitar World named him in the top 15 of its 100 greatest heavy metal guitarists of all time, and plugged the lead from Shock Me on the 50 greatest guitar solos of all time. Magnifying the imprint of his catalog as a solo artist, Foo Fighters cut a fan-favorite cover of Ozone, and he even jammed out New York Groove alongside The Roots on NBC The Tonight Show starring Jimmy Fallon. The late Dimebag Darrell of Pantera proudly sported a tattoo of Frehley on his chest, while Tom Morello of Rage Against the Machine celebrated him on Twitter as "my first guitar hero." Embedded in popular culture, he also penned the New York Times best-selling memoir No Regrets, and packed venues everywhere on tour for decades. Long before he donned silver makeup and became known to the world as the Spaceman of Kiss, Ace Frehley was just a kid from the Bronx with a passion for rock and roll and a guitar slung over his shoulder. His early journey was filled with rebellion, raw talent, and a relentless drive to carve out his place in the world of music. Before he ever stepped on stage with Kiss, Paul Daniel Ace Frehley had already built the foundation for what would become a legendary career. Ace Frehley was born on the 27th of April, 1951, in the Bronx, New York City. He was the youngest of 3 children in a working-class family. Music was always around him. His father played piano, and his siblings had a wide variety of musical interests. This eclectic environment helped shape Ace's own diverse musical taste, from classical music to rock and blues. Although his family encouraged education, Ace was never particularly interested in school. He was more drawn to the streets, mischief, and eventually, the electric guitar. At the age of 13, he received his first guitar as a Christmas gift, a moment he often recalls as life-changing. Within months, he taught himself to play by ear, mimicking solos and riffs from bands like the Rolling Stones, The Who, Cream, and Jimi Hendrix. As a teenager, Ace quickly became known in local circles for his ability to play blistering guitar solos and improvise with ease. His natural talent didn't go unnoticed, but his rebellious nature often got him into trouble. He dropped out of high school for a time and was briefly involved with street gangs. During this period, he sported leather jackets, lived on his own terms, and wandered through the underground rock scene of New York City. Despite his rough lifestyle, Ace always found his way back to music. He played in several local bands throughout the late 1960s and early 1970s, including groups like The Exotics, the King Kong Blues Band, and Malamo. Most of these bands were short-lived, but they gave him valuable stage experience and exposure to the evolving rock scene of the era. In 1971, Ace joined Malamo, a more serious band that blended rock with psychedelic and progressive elements. The band had some regional success and even recorded demo tracks for RCA Records. Although the deal never materialized into a full contract, the experience gave Ace his first taste of professional recording. It was a brief but important period that exposed him to the realities of the music industry. While pursuing his music dreams, Ace held several odd jobs to make ends meet. He worked as a mail carrier, a furniture mover, and even a part-time graphic artist, a field he was genuinely interested in and almost pursued as a career. His visual creativity would later become part of his Kiss identity, particularly when designing logos and stage concepts. Still, no matter what job he had, music was always calling. He spent countless hours practicing, experimenting with effects pedals, and pushing his sound to be louder, sharper, and more distinctive. Influenced heavily by guitar legends like Jeff Beck and Jimmy Page, Ace began to shape a style that was aggressive yet melodic, with an emphasis on tone and feel over technical perfection. By late 1972, Ace was growing restless. He wanted something bigger, something that would finally launch him into the rock spotlight. One day in December, he answered a classified ad in the Village Voice, posted by Paul Stanley, Gene Simmons, and Peter Criss, who were seeking a lead guitarist for their newly forming band. Ace showed up to the audition wearing mismatched sneakers, a trademark quirk he kept throughout his life, and plugged in his guitar without much fanfare. In late 1972, Paul Stanley and Gene Simmons were looking to form a new band after the end of their previous group, Wicked Lester. They recruited drummer Peter Criss and eventually held auditions for a lead guitarist. Ace Frehley answered their ad in the Village Voice, and, despite his unconventional appearance and behavior during the audition, he blew them away with his raw talent and guitar skills. By January 1973, Frehley had officially joined the band, and Kiss was born. Ace adopted the Spaceman or Space Ace persona, contributing to the band's elaborate costumed identity. His makeup and onstage character, inspired by science fiction and outer space, added a futuristic flair to the band's theatrical image. Kiss released their self-titled debut album in 1974. Though it received modest commercial success at first, the band quickly built a dedicated following due to their explosive live performances, complete with fire-breathing, blood-spitting, pyrotechnics, and levitating drum kits. Ace's signature smoking guitar solo, where smoke and light poured from the body of his Les Paul while he shredded on stage, became a fan favorite. Ace contributed significantly to the band's sound, co-writing and playing on classic tracks like Cold Gin, Shock Me, Parasite, and Rocket Ride. His blues-based yet innovative playing style stood out in the hard rock scene. Although initially shy about singing, Ace eventually took lead vocals on Shock Me from the 1977 album Love Gun, a turning point that marked his emergence as a full-fledged frontman within the band. In 1982, following the release of music from The Elder and Creatures of the Night, Ace officially left Kiss. Although his image remained on the album covers and promotional materials, he had little to no involvement with the recording of Creatures of the Night. His departure marked the end of an era for Kiss fans, as the original lineup had now been split. After leaving the band, Ace formed his own project, Frehley's Comet, and continued to record and perform throughout the 1980s and 1990s, maintaining a dedicated fan base. In 1996, Kiss announced a long-awaited reunion tour featuring the original lineup, Paul Stanley, Gene Simmons, Peter Criss, and Ace Frehley. Donning the classic makeup and costumes, the tour was a massive success, drawing huge crowds and revitalizing the band's legacy. A new studio album, Psycho Circus, followed, with Frehley contributing guitar parts and vocals. Despite the success of the reunion, tensions soon resurfaced. Frehley departed the band again in 2002, citing disagreements over business and creative control. Ace Frehley's influence on Kiss and the wider rock world is undeniable. His melodic solos, distinct tone, and iconic image left an indelible mark on rock guitar history. In 2014, Ace was inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame alongside the other original members of Kiss. Though his relationship with the band has been turbulent, his role in crafting the original magic of Kiss remains highly respected by fans and critics alike. Frehley has continued to release solo albums into the 2020s, proving that the Spaceman still has fuel in the tank. His contributions to rock and roll, both musically and theatrically, have solidified his status as one of the most influential guitarists of his generation.